Installing the vertical base. If a vertical base is required, as illustrated in this example, first tape off the top edge of the base at the desired height. This will protect the area above the tape from the resin. This will also serve as your base height guide. Remember to use painter's tape over painted surfaces so that the paint won't be peeled away when the tape is removed. Now mix the kit resin's A and B parts for the vertical base for 1 minute. Now add 1.5 gallons of anti-sag and mix until you get a glue-like consistency. Take 3 to 4 scoops out of the batch with your gauge trowel. Use this to prime the vertical surface that you're going to install the flooring product. With the remaining material that's left in the can, add the aggregate to it slowly at 1/3 by volume pours while it's mixing. Blend the mixture until it's thoroughly blended, approximately 1.5 minutes. You will now prime the vertical surface of the walls you'll install the product on vertically with the scoops of resin that you set aside before adding the aggregate to your flooring kit. You only need a light coating of this primer. 90-degree vertical base demonstration. Now with your gauge trowel, scoop the material out into piles on the floor along the area that you'll be installing the product vertically. This not only makes it convenient to use, but by removing the material from the can, you'll extend the pot life of the material. Trowel the material on the wall no thicker than 1/4 inch with your gauge trowel. Remember that after the material is mixed, it's already started the curing process, so you want to get it in place as quickly as possible. Tip: if you're right-handed, work from the left to the right. It's easier to place the material with the back end of your gauge trowel than the point. Once the material has been initially placed on the wall at 1/4 inch, you can remove the protective tape before applying your finishing strokes. Now with the 4-inch COVE trowel, you will put the final smooth finish on the vertical base. 45-degree beveled edge demonstration. For a 45-degree beveled edge, you don't have to pre-prime the surface. You simply trowel it into place using your margin trowel. 4-inch radial COVE base demonstration. Note: if installing a radial COVE base, ensure you install your strips so that the anchoring lip is facing toward the wall. Also install the strips so that the outside edge is set 1.5 inches from the face of the wall. Now follow the steps used when installing the 90-degree base. Initially, place the material on the wall at 1/4 inch, then finish with your COVE trowel as before. The procedure is similar in that you apply the material and finish as before, then you come back in and place approximately 3/4 inch diameter of material on the inside part of the strip. Then simply work it into your vertical base with your radial COVE trowel. In this installation, we've demonstrated 3 types of base applications. Installing the floor. Now let's talk about the steps necessary for the floor installation process. Steps 1 through 4 are done prior to the vertical base installation if there is one. 1. Grind the surface of the floor if necessary to ensure the adhesion of the floor material. 2. Clean the floor by sweeping every square inch of it with a fine bristle broom and foxtail to remove all debris. Be sure to pay careful attention to the detail around all the perimeter edges. 3. If there's any grease present, ensure a thorough degreasing takes place and enough time is allowed for the floor to be dry before proceeding. 4. Wipe down the entire surface of the floor with denatured alcohol to pick up any remaining dust particles that the broom may have left behind. 5. Stage the mixing area to ensure that cleanliness is maintained throughout the whole process and that the flooring material is not accidentally dropped or tracked into other areas. 6. Set up your low-level light before you start the installation. You'll be using this to highlight any imperfections as you finish the floor while you can still reach and correct them. 7. Mix the epoxy A and B together in a metal can for a minimum of 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. Then slowly add the rock aggregate and mix for 1.5 minutes to ensure a thorough mixture of materials. Hint: if you mix more than 1.5 minutes, you'll be introducing a lot of air into the product. It's important to make sure that you mix each batch at the same consistency to ensure consistent coloring and texture in the installed floor. 8. Now pour out the entire contents of the can out across the floor in a line approximately 4 to 6 inches from the edge where you'll be installing it. 9. Spread out the material to about 3/16 of an inch as quickly as possible. When spreading the material, it's okay to spread it in either direction. When it comes to the finishing strokes, you always want to go in the same direction. 10. When finishing strokes are started, always begin them at an edge or a wall or at the outside edge of the product and finish them at an edge or a wall. This will eliminate start and stop trowel marks that can be left in the middle of your material. When applying the final finishing strokes, put the weight of your strokes on the bottom 3/4 of your trowel. If you keep the pressure on this part of your trowel and keep the tip of your trowel slightly lifted, you'll keep from leaving trowel marks in your finished floor. 11. Because overlapping the material should be minimized, try to keep the edge of the kit you just finished crisp and clean. If you do this, tying the material together is much easier and helps you keep from overlapping the product. Overlapping the material should be avoided as much as possible because when one kit has already been finished, it's already been on the floor for several minutes and curing for some time. If you overlap this finished kit after it has been down with the new kit, more time is spent tying the kits together to maintain a uniform thickness. If you minimize from overlapping the seams from kit to kit, a better installation will result, thus eliminating a wavy-looking floor at the seams. Using pressure on the trowel when tying kits together at the seams, you can make sure that both kits are the same height.